Hey there, welcome to the Bronx Buzz. As you might know, this is Bronx Night's program where we talk to reporters and writers and editors and all different people who are putting stuff out in the Bronx. And in our first segment, we're going to talk about the city and what's going on in city government. In our second segment, we have a beautiful, wonderful exhibit to talk about at the Bronx River Arts Center. And you're really going to enjoy that because it's got some soul behind it, and that'll happen in the second part of our show. But right now, let's talk to the government reporter at Politics NY and AM New York, our buddy Ethan Stark Miller. Nice to have you with us, Ethan.
Hey Gary, thanks for having me back.
It is great to have you. Lots going on in City Hall. We're going to talk about what you were doing this morning in just a moment. I wanted to start off. You wrote about when it happened, the mayor's statements about separating church and state. It didn't seem like he was for it, but now he seems to have backed off. Let's see. Don't tell me about no separation of church and state. The mayor said the state is the body, the church is the heart. You take the heart out of the body dies. And he got widely criticized for that. I guess, Ethan, my question is, was it predictable that eventually he was going to have to backtrack on some of that, which he ultimately did?
Oh yeah, definitely. And the way his office tried to frame it pretty much immediately after he made those comments was that, this was misinterpreted. Everyone who was in the room understood what he was trying to say. He was just trying to talk about the centrality of faith to, his particular philosophy as a policymaker, how faith is really important to him, that guides like his approach towards being compassionate towards people who are homeless, for example. So that's kind of been the line since then. And then he's been asked about in probably like, I don't know, two or three radio interviews now and or TV interviews, and once during a Q&A with reporters. He's kind of stuck to the idea that no, I wasn't questioning the Constitution, but this is really important to me. And, you know,
Well, Ethan, you could look at any elected official. I mean, look at our borough president, Vanessa Gibson. Look at the president of the United States. Presidents have been going to church and been talking about, their moral code. And we'd like to think that every elected official has a moral code, but a clear understanding of the what we learned in the seventh grade social studies is that you don't make rulings based on religion. And so I guess the mayor gets taught a lesson. My sense, and now you cover him much more closely than I do. I'm more observer on the scene. My sense is that the cop in him keeps coming out. Is that that's his background, and he's a tough guy, and he wants to create. And now that he's got some power, that's my sense of Eric Adams, and so he has to kind of get reprimanded every now and then to back off.
yeah, no, I mean, I think the cop background for him is definitely an important part of his backstory and who
And
he
his
is.
makeup, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. I mean, I didn't I have told people privately, I said, the mayor hasn't lost his blue skin, which, I think is still in there. Now listen, as far as fighting crime and understanding our streets, that's a whole other thing, and certainly I would think working to our advantage. Let's talk about what you told me just, before you logged in. I had asked you what you were working on, and you said the budget hearings, and that involved, the workers, the city workforce. The city is look. I thought the number was extraordinary. City is working to fill 23,000 vacancies.
yeah.
Jobs are out there. Tell us a little bit more about that. I mean, that's what you wrote about. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so the city has to fill, like you said, 23,000 vacancies. These have kind of accumulated over the past couple of years. The mayor's budget director, in the first of a series of budget hearings today with the city council, said that, the reason why there's so many vacancies is because a lot of people have left the city workforce for, a myriad of reasons having to do with, Adams phased out remote work as an option
Right.
last fall, the vaccine mandates. Those were the main two that he focused on. And basically, he's saying that they're not able to fill these jobs fast enough. There's more people leaving than people coming in. So the net loss is big. And right now they're trying to figure out ways to deal with that. This think tank called the Five Borough Institute that's relatively new.
Right.
I think it was started last year. Um, and one of the founders is the publisher of City and State New York, actually. And they put out a report basically with recommendations about how to, some ways to address this problem. One of them being embracing remote work at least 1 to 2 days a week.
Not something that the mayor, was for, originally.
Originally wasn't for
Right.
it. Now he seems to be.
Backtracked off that, as well, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Last year, through much of the year, he adamantly was opposed to that idea. He said we need to get people back to offices because businesses around offices, that people go to lunch to, or
Sure, of course.
yeah, any of it, bars after work, those thrive off of people being in person. And then also, he kind of pushed this idea, which I think is true to some extent, that in the office people have like synergy. There's more,
Yeah, teamwork.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's just good for people to work together in person.
Yes, there's no question about it. But, this is a problem that's much larger than just the municipal government. I mean, we hear from people all the time, business people, they got help wanted signs in their stores and everything else. And then on the other hand, there's people out there going, "I can't find a job." I mean, the city has Workforce One, and there's many other organizations, FedCap and the Doe Fund, trying to get people and a Fortune Society. I wish we could kind of put things together and get people jobs. What's it going to take for the city to do its thing? I mean, concessions like the remote works concession, is that a good start? Just better publicity of jobs available. I mean, what's it going to take? Do you have a sense of that?
I mean, I think it's a little bit of both. Some city council members, Gail Brewer in particular, today said during the hearing that remote work is what people want, and she doesn't understand why they're not embracing that. Yeah, another is trying to be more aggressive about hiring, and that's something the administration said that they're doing. They're having these hiring events around the city now. That's something that I've wanted to look a little bit more into. And they're just trying to, well, that they say they're trying to be a more aggressive employer, or in terms of hiring, whereas in the past people just kind of like came to the city because
Yeah,
they were
kind of
getting
dropped in.
jobs.
Um,
Yeah.
working with CUNY and all those and working with, the other, colleges, like the Borough of Universities here in the Bronx, you've got people graduating from, whether it be, master's programs or graduate programs or undergraduate programs in government. I think if you get a little bit aggressive, you might be able to do that. But I really appreciated what you said about, look, downtown Manhattan and around City Hall, there are businesses that thrived on the lunch and then after work and all that. So I understand while Gail Brewer's point of view is, look, let's just get them working. On the other hand, there is a little sympathy. So I don't think you can say, okay, let's just get everybody working remotely. You also can't monitor their work quite as well or their time quite as well if they're working remotely. I mean, I get all that. Before we run out of time, I want to talk about another issue that you wrote about, um, and that is, "Weed Be Gone," is the way the headline phrased it. New York City seized $262,000 in marijuana products from unlicensed sellers in the month of February. I guess that's a good start, but this cannabis program is not going to work if they don't shut down these illegal shops, right? I mean, it's just a basic, talk about basic business, right? They're going to have to shut those things down.
Yeah, I mean, the thought is, and yeah, that is just basic economics. Like,
Yeah, right.
even though the licensed shops are presumably selling a better product, it's, regulated, it's tested, all this stuff. People are going to go to a place that's more easily available and cheaper. The three
Yeah.
pot shops that have licenses at the moment are all in Lower Manhattan, within like a few blocks of each other.
That's right. Well,
This,
I'm gonna tell you now, you used to, of course, work up here in the North Bronx. I walked by, Broadway and 233rd 233rd Street or, yeah, maybe 232nd Street, and there is this storefront called the Pot Shop. It's quite clear what
Literally.
they sell there, and I mean, it shocked me, frankly, that it's still open, and I saw, frankly, a rather unsavory. I mean, you're a city person, you get to recognize things, an unsavory-looking character standing right in the doorway. I was like, "This the 50th precinct is 3 blocks away. I mean, we can't do a better job with this." I don't know, it's just me as a private citizen watching, what was going on. Seems to me they could really do a lot of work here, because you don't know what product they have. People, I don't know, I'm just telling you what I saw. Seems
Yeah.
to me this could be corrected quicker. Maybe
Yeah,
I'm wrong.
I mean, the city's taken a couple of actions on this, like you mentioned the number of product that was seized, in dollar figures. The sheriff's office is leading a task force that's doing these
Right,
inspections
yeah.
of about 1,400 shops that are selling weed without a license around, or that they believe are selling weed without a license around the city. So that's one way. Also, the administration through the police department filed lawsuits against several smoke shops in the East Village. I believe it was four, and I think a couple of those have panned out to some sort of reprimand. A couple of others, they're still kind of just like able to do what they're doing, selling more
Well,
weed.
the people of the Bronx, in fact, the borough president at our State of the Borough address just the other day talked very directly about how the Bronx was going to have like the Cadillac of cannabis programs. We're not going to get there. And I mean, that was only one shop. I mean, there were easily a couple of other smoke shops in that same area by 231st and Broadway. That's only one neighborhood. I mean, neighborhoods all over the city. Anyway, so you're working on the budget. That's what you're doing, right? We're going to be able to read what you're writing, right?
Yeah, should have something up today.
Okay. We should mention we record this on Monday, and so this will air Thursday. So it'll already have been old news because you'll already be to the second stage of that. Listen, we value everything that you do, Ethan. You've been a reporter here up in the Bronx, and now over at AM New York and Politics NY. We appreciate what you do. You're a total pro, and we need you. Else can I tell you? Thank you
Thank
so much for joining us today, and we'll look for what you're writing, and we'll get you back, and we'll talk about the city.
Thanks for having me on again.
Great.
Appreciate it.
All right, what we're gonna do, we're gonna take a short break, and as I said, you're gonna really enjoy this, segment. It's an art, exhibit that is by Ukrainian women, and it is worth it. Let's put it that way. Don't go away.
Hey, boss. Okay.
I said I'm fine.
Put me to bed, see you in the morning. With the frosted Superman, but it wasn't on it. And we lost it.
You can talk to me.
It's been really, really hard for me.
Every day, thousands of kids start vaping. And I can't let this happen to my kid. Of course, it's awkward to talk to your kids about the dangers of vaping. Hey, bestie, how's sketches, baby? It's hard to get their attention. Ready? Go. Yes, look at that. You didn't even turn yours over. So if you want to talk to your kids about the dangers of vaping, you have to get it trending. Right, Backpack Kid?
Let's do it.
First, invite your kid to do the vape talk. Let's try this. All right.
Why is he here?
Yeah, I gotta get it trending,
No.
honey.
Come on.
To the left. To the right. Let's go.
Oh, honey, can we talk?
Yeah, what's up?
I see a lot of your friends vaping.
Visit talkaboutvaping.org for tips on when and how to have the vape talk.
Found my heart out there in the open. Trees make you feel smaller. Can't help but get lost again.
Feel the beat of nature at a park or forest near you. Find a forest and music inspired by nature at discovertheforest.org.
All right, back with you on the Bronx Buzz. I am very excited about this segment. We are going to bring in a couple of wonderful people, one of whom is my longtime friend, the executive director of the Bronx River Arts Center. So we say hi to Gail Nathan. Nice to see you, Gail. And Gail brought along a curator who apparently has some history in the Bronx, but a lot of history with her native Ukraine, and that is Irina Danilova. Irina, nice to have you with us. Gail, Paramoha is the exhibit which you said to me, Gary, I am so excited about this exhibit. Tell us what it is, and then we'll let Irina really describe some of the incredible things going on here.
Right. Well, the exhibit is Paramora, which is an exhibit of 5 Ukrainian women artists who are living in Ukraine and living through the war. And they are expressing their intense emotions about the war. Their pain, their anguish, and everything that they're living through in artworks. And Irina invited them to do a show. Irina, who is an incredible artist and also curates a lot of shows,
Right.
and she made this show, and she actually made it for a space down on the Lower East Side called White Box. And I, as a friend of Irina's and someone who follows her work, went down to see it, and I just immediately said, Irina, we have to
We
show
got to
this.
have it. But now you also just told me beforehand, Irina has history in the Bronx. She's won a Brio Award, which is the Bronx recognizes its own. So I guess it makes sense. I'm going to just say right away, so people will know, Wednesday, March 22nd, from 6 to 9, that's the opening of this extraordinary exhibit. So I want to lay that out there. And Irina, I'm going to mispronounce the names, but I'm going to try my best. Olia Fedorova, Daria Koltsova, Maria Kolikovska, Natalia Lisova, and Maria Prashkowska are the 5 artists. Tell me about them and their experiences and what they are and what you are helping them depict in this wonderful exhibit that's going to be at the Bronx River Arts Center.
Yeah, all 5 artists, they actually from Ukraine, the Ukrainian artists. Some of them refugees right now because they have little kids, and one of them, Maria Polikovska, just delivered kid before war, like months before. And so those with kids, of course, left Ukraine. And when I started to think about how is it possible actually to make any art during the war, except for, of course, ideological art, like propagandistic art, like posters and stuff. I was actually trying to see what artists doing in Ukraine, because they are already 9 years in a war, in a kind of smaller scale war, and now they are in a full-scale war. So
Yeah, I would say 9 years of struggle and 1 year of a full-scale attack and war. It's just horrible. And so what you found was it is able, I mean, which to me, I can't even imagine living under those conditions, but creative people just need to create and express, right? I mean, that's basically what we're learning here.
yeah, those 5 artists, they are absolutely incredible, and their works actually different in a way, because some works directly refer to the war, and some works actually maybe were not directly referred to the war, but their perception of those works changes because of the war. So this exhibition is, I think it's very interesting from this point of perspective, but also I want to say that it was a great, absolutely, show in Peremoga in a white box space. But now I would like to make it a little bit different, and also I would like to add some stuff and some other, first of all, some other works of artists themselves. We have artists who is coming. Daria Koltsova, she's coming from Oxford. She's right now in Oxford.
Wow.
To make a live performance during the opening. And also I would like to, because one of the main goals is to bring Ukraine closer to American public, closer to American viewer, and also to show our mutual effort toward Peremoga, which is victory in Ukraine. And also, so I also invited artists who was documenting every event on 42nd Street in Russian embassy, by the Russian embassy, by Ukrainian embassy,
Right.
every public event in New York. So we also am hoping to include that in the show too. His name is
We
Alexei Zadansky.
we want to show some of the work. Gail, just before we do that, um, for you, why is this so important to do, and why were you so compelled to say, you know what, we got to do this?
Well, of course, I followed from the very beginning, even back when the Crimea was war happened, that just sort of came and went, and Russia took over the whole Crimean area. You know, the threat was there for a long time, not only against Ukraine, and this is what's so important, but anybody who's been following it, it's against the whole of Western Europe, which is NATO,
Of course, yeah.
and then the United States. And Putin has been saying some very, very awful things about us. And you know, this is looks just like the beginning of World War II. And
Well, World War II. I'm thinking about World War III.
that's what I'm saying. It's
Yeah.
looking like the beginning of World War II. It means that, you know, we're close to a world war, and
We-
this time with nuclear weapons. People in America and people in the Bronx need to listen up, because democracy is on the line.
On
And
the line. I
is
I want to make sure we have enough time to show some stuff. To me, you know, we see the news, we read the papers, we see all that, but get an artist's point of view. I mentioned at the top, it hits you in your soul, so to speak. So, Anderson, just show us one. The first piece I saw, and I was like, my goodness. You know, at first I was like, what is that? Are those actual feet that were
Yes,
taken?
it's actually feet. It's cast by Maria Kulikovska, cast of her feet, and they are
Of
filled
her
with
feet.
either flowers or both flowers and bullets. So it's
Wow.
she's doing a series of
A-
work.
And
That's-
without words, listen, and I'm, you know, and I'm an amateur viewer. Without words, it just communicates some of the horror of what is
right,
going on
right.
here.
Like they were cutting off feet that were
I
bound.
get it. I can't even think of it.
Right.
Let's look at the next one.
But it's real.
It's real. Don't ask me to fight my anger as long as my anger helps me fight. Rather simple, but you can understand the expression. Irina, do you want to mention whose work that is?
This artist from Kharkiv, Oля Fedorova, and he's doing right now very straightforward and very brave messages.
Right.
Addressing Russians,
This,
addressing
this is all,
And
it's absolutely breathtaking. Go ahead, Gail. I'm
And the
sorry.
fact that it's on this crinkled paper,
Sure.
with handwritten, you know, nothing fancy. It's
Right.
like that in and of itself is the artistic form that helps get the message across. That it's like out of urgency, and maybe it was, you know, crumpled up so that the army couldn't see it, the Russians
But
couldn't see
the
it.
passion and the strength comes through. That, in
Right.
other words, it's
Exactly.
going to help me to fight.
Right.
You know, as opposed to just, you know, giving in, which is what I think the world thought was going to happen in Ukraine.
It's
All right, let's.
it's this style because she started to write it in being in a basement during the. I mean, from Kharkiv. Kharkiv was,
Yeah,
under the bombing, and still under
under
bombing.
siege. Yeah.
Yeah, and it was since from the first day one, and a lot of
Let-
explosions there. So she was hiding, and she was started in that what paper is crippled. So she's keeping the same style as she was.
let's show another. I'm ready. You know, talk about tree huggers. It's a photograph, I guess, right?
Yes, it's photograph of performance of Natalia Lisova, and originally this performance actually was environmental, not as about war. But when I saw the works, when I was going through the works of this artist, of course, this work talked to me about love to the land, love to the country, in a war from war perspective.
Yeah, but also holding on to something strong and
And
something.
holding on and keeping, yeah, that's
Yes.
that's a good point. Yes.
Absolutely. All right. I think we have another. Let's just see what we've got. Oh, and this was just incredibly sad and powerful.
I think it
Um,
doesn't any words right now. It's Maria Prashkovska and whatever happens in a war and how many bodies in the plastic bags right now. So it speaks for itself.
it was. I have to ask, was that an actual body or was that just a piece of artwork that was created?
It's herself. She put herself into this plastic.
Gail, how many pieces are going to be on display?
Oh, I don't know. Ask her.
10,
I mean,
20. Oh,
no,
Irina, how many?
it's a phenomenal show, and now she says she's expanding. So I don't know.
Uh-oh, so it'll be more.
Yes.
Irina, how many? Do you want to tell us how many pieces?
We need space.
Listen, the Bronx River Art Center,
Space.
she's got the space.
How many we could accommodate? I am not sure, but it's it's a lot of pieces. It's at least
Probably at least 30, I'd say, right? 30.
Just before we run out of time, Irina, what is it that you would like the people of the Bronx and the world really to get out of this exhibit when they see all these incredible images?
just basically support and be staying strong and defend our democracy in the field of Ukraine. Right now, our democracies fight for our democracy in Ukraine. So support, feel strong, be brave, and
if Ukraine falls, the next country is Poland, and the next is
of course.
He wants the entire he wants to go back to the Soviet bloc, and then that's all of Europe. And
Gail, the final word here. How does this fit into your vision of the Bronx River Art Center? And aside from the classes and aside from everything else that you do, why is this exhibit important to you as within this institution?
Well, full disclosure, I'm of Slovakian heritage.
Oh, I never knew that.
Which is and Russian, and the part of Slovakia when my grandparents were there was part of Ukraine. Was Ukraine at that time?
So there's a
of course
personal
I'm
side to
aware
it.
of that.
Right.
It's my culture. It's my and how does it fit in? Well, first of all, we've always been somewhat eclectic in what we do and show, but of course today there's a lot going on about cultural identity with the African Americans and Black Lives Matter, which we've already done a couple of shows about, and then Latinx.
And this fits in there. Listen, we got to run. Gail Nathan from the Bronx River Art Center, thank you so much. Irina, thank you so much for your work. We want to see as much of it as we can. Ladies and gentlemen, the announcement is the opening reception Wednesday, March 22nd from 6 to 9. Look up the Bronx River Art Center. It's just one of the great places in our borough. And with this exhibit, you can see why. Thank you both so much for joining us in the Bronx Buzz.
Thank you, Gary. Thanks so much for helping us get the word out.
The word is going to be out. We're out. And that's it. We are out. We will see you all next week on, guess what? The Bronx Buzz. Good night. Stay safe.
Thank you so much.